This episode of the Party Loaded podcast is proudly sponsored by Audible.com. Check out their awesome catalogue of audiobooks with over 180,000 titles to choose from. And be sure to grab a free audiobook on us and support the show by visiting audibletrial.com/endgame.
Let's party.
Welcome back to Party Loaded. My name's Luke Ratellic, and this is episode 10, or episode X, for Rated Extreme. So, Extreme people, I have with me, as per usual, Jam. How you doing?
Hello, I'm doing well, and we're not being at all silly.
Have you finished doofing?
Oh, so dancy.
Yeah, it's good. Ollie, in the background.
Hello.
What's going on? And Imogen is here as well. No doubt.
Hello.
Rocking out somewhere. Cool.
Yep.
Speaking of rocking out, we just had, it is Wednesday the 27th of January today, and we had Australia Day yesterday, which is a big national holiday for us, where we basically go out and party hard and get loaded and all that sort of stuff. And Imogen, I believe you spent yesterday in a swimming pool on a roof somewhere. Was that accurate? What actually happened?
Replace swimming pool with paddling pool and roof with car park, and you've nailed it.
Okay.
That's
Nice.
less impressive.
Classy.
All right. Still sounds kind of interesting. Meanwhile, everybody else piled around to my place and ate and drank lots of food and punch and was merry. And I had way
I think
too much.
only you drank the punch, to be fair, Luke.
I regretted everything today. It was a day filled with
Out on
regret.
drunk Luke.
Well, look, I literally got onto the train this morning and was so out of it that I missed my stop on the way to work. And
Are you kidding?
no, I'm serious.
Where did you end up?
One station down the road, sort of further on than that. So it was Leederville station for us. So, I mean, in my defence, I was losing at Hearthstone at the time as well. So I was kind of upset. But, you know.
Oh, so of all the people at the party yesterday, including at least half a dozen children, Luke was the one that spilled a drink.
I was one of
drunk Luke.
several people that spilled a drink. Thank you very much.
Oh.
Sure, all of the others were under 10 years of age, but that does not matter.
I did not even see them.
No, you probably didn't. It all got cleaned up pretty quickly. It was all good. So anyway, we're in a fairly festive mood yesterday. I think, I felt like that for most of the week. It's a short week, which is kind of good. A little bit more time for gaming. So, what have we all been playing? What's been going on? Ollie, you can kick us off tonight. What's going on with your games?
I have actually not done that much gaming because I moved house at long last.
Yay! And we all got to come around to your new digs and play some D&D on the weekend, which was cool.
Woo!
Nice.
So now I'm in
Noodle.
new digs.
Woo!
Yes. So the dog you occasionally hear in the podcasts was finally met.
Yep.
So yeah, I played some more Gary's Mod. I played some Trouble in Terrorist Town, which is a variation of that game mode, which is quite fun. So again, it's sort of game mode where you have a bunch of players. Some players are trying to kill the other players because they're traitors, and there's usually one or two detectives, which are, guaranteed good guys, and you're trying to figure out who's the good guys, who's the bad guys. Mm-hmm. And the traitors and detectives can buy like special equipment, and there's traps around the map that traders can activate and that sort of thing. It's quite fun. It's very chaotic.
Is that one of those games where it sort of improves your experience if you kind of role play out your characters a little bit? I've heard that's the go with some of the Gary's Mod games.
Well, there's no real characters, but yes, if you're speech chatting, then it works a lot better than if you're just typing. Definitely voice chat is the way to go with that game, 100%. But yes, it is very chaotic at the best of times. And then I played my second ever MMO, The Secret World.
I'm curious now, what was your first? WoW? Or?
Guild Wars 2.
Ah, of course.
Ooh, I like that.
So I went, I'll try MMOs, didn't like Guild Wars 2, and then because everyone's playing Secret World at the moment, I was like, sure, because I like, from the tabletop fantasy world, I like a setting called the World of Darkness, and the Secret World is essentially just the World of Darkness minus the IP infringement. So I am enjoying the setting a lot, and I think that's what's keeping me going at the moment, because otherwise at the moment it's just the usual sort of stuff. But it's essentially an excuse to hang out online and chat with mates, so I'm okay with that if that's the time filler.
Yeah.
But no, I like the world a lot.
I was going to say, mechanics-wise, and the way that the figures move and the weapons operate and that sort of stuff, someone mentioned to me today that they thought it was a little similar to the way GTA feels. What's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, no, that's fair. It is very, animation-wise, it's very similar, yes. Nowhere near as finesse because there's nowhere near as many interactions.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, it is definitely similar in that it was a relatively modern engine running, so there will be similarities in third-person engines.
Yeah, that's fair.
Very atmospheric.
So what about Jam? What have you been doing?
Well, I've been joining people on the Secret World and continuing that adventure. Still having lots of fun. I played a bunch of stuff. After
Yeah, you put me to shame.
Yeah.
You win
After
this
our discussions last week about good party games, my brother ended up coming over on the weekend and we smashed out Cloudberry Kingdom. We got through over 200 levels in one sitting.
Wow.
It was incredible. So much fun, but the levels we're up to now, so
You got to the
difficult.
levels where it's basically just the screen is full, jump in the tiny gap.
It's so full. We haven't had to use too many of the purchasable bonuses, though, that help you out, like slowing down time or giving you a little dot that bounces across the screen that you can follow to see where you're meant to jump, like which ones you jump over or go under. It's just fantastic. I want to play right now. Also got on and played some Rocket League, which was hilarious because I'm like still not that great. Some Crypt of the Necrodancer, which we're talking about next week. Is that right?
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, crap.
Some homework to
Damn
do.
it.
Yeah. And don't forget, Imogen, you suggested this one.
Yep.
It is
Flashbacks.
difficult. Yeah. I played some Armello and tried out the new scrap mechanic.
Oh,
I
need
think
to
I
try
was on when you were on, Lou.
Yeah, we need to talk about this.
Yeah, I have not played very much, and I was focused on building a fort. I didn't even try to build the mechanical things. Some of your creations looked awesome, and some of our other friends' creations are amazing already.
Oh, they've gotten much further than I have, but yeah, I've sussed out a bunch of stuff. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah. And the only other thing, which occurred in the last 2 hours, I picked up The Witness. I am already loving it. Having a look at the media that was released about the game, and you've got this little board that you have to draw a line on, I was like, how much variation can there be on that mechanic? Oh my goodness. There's just such neat ways they have of helping you understand that there's only one right answer. I'm really enjoying it, and I want to be playing right now. I've said that about 2 games already.
Yep.
Damn it. I'm in a super impulsive mood right now.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've had a big week. Good.
I'll jump in next too because Scrap Mechanic and the Witness, I think, need to expand
Elaborate?
a little bit on that. Yeah, so like I found out a bunch of stuff today about the ladder, and when I got home, I was all like, grab the chrome mouth spray. Oh, witness me! Need to download immediately. So got hold of that, loaded it up, started playing for about an hour or so before we started recording tonight, and we're going to probably have to talk about this a lot more in maybe the next week or two's episodes, but it looks like a pretty meaty game. There's like I don't know what the exact count was, but there's something like 680 puzzles in this game, and I don't believe I probably got the number wildly wrong. I'll be corrected by somebody, but the idea is there's like a central area to the game, from what I understand, that you can unlock by completing puzzles in different areas. Of which there are about 10, I think, like about 10 different areas. I'm not entirely sure. So I literally only an hour in. I've been told there's potentially up to about 80 plus hours in this game. So depending on how much of it you want to complete, and given the way that I usually am, I'm sure I want to complete quite a bit of it. So we'll see. But the creator has said that there is at least one puzzle that he expects less than 1% of the people who play the game will get. So I saw that and I was like, challenge accepted.
That's
676
fascinating.
puzzles, Luke.
676. I was pretty close. Nice.
Apparently, it's going to be an hour, 100-hour game.
100-hour game. Yep.
Wow.
Jesus.
So just
How much was
something.
the game?
30
40?
US, I think. 30 or 40
American?
US. Yeah. It literally came out yesterday.
It's so pretty.
Yeah, it
It
is
is
very,
so pretty.
very pretty. Very colourful.
even though my computer crashed and I had to turn the graphics down. I don't know what's going on. One of my drivers is just funky, wonky, bad.
Yeah.
Wow, if your computer can play GTA but not The Witness.
I know.
Something is wrong.
Yeah, it's a
I got to
little
figure
concerning.
that out.
It might be
just stunning.
it might be the resolution sort of size of it for you or something like that, because the default goes to full screen and that might muck with your graphics card.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll have to investigate further.
Not quite sure, but yeah, really colourful game, really smooth for me so far. The movement's great. Very, very simple control set. It's literally like WASD keyboard movement combined with mouse sort of looking around, and you can sort of interact with things using the left and right mouse click. Is available on PS4 as well, and I believe they've just started the iOS build, so it will be available on iOS at a later date. But like this game's been in development for a long time. It was first announced around 2011, I think. So they literally skipped a whole console generation when they were, putting it together, and kept on delaying it until they were ready. And it's been getting very, very good reviews around the place in the short time that it's been out. So. Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing a whole bunch more. It is a very, very puzzly game, a lot of exploration, very little instructions. You kind of jump in and the game kind of just teaches you as you go.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that too. I think
It's
really
trying
cool.
to be as intuitive as possible, and it's not holding your hand, but it gives you enough of a suggestion or a cue on screen that you can be, I mean, these guys were listening to me try before. I was going, what is it?
It was
What is
very
it? I don't get it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm a genius. I figured it out. That's what they
I also
meant.
got to listen to you crashing. I'm approaching a tape recorder. No.
I know. Every time I looked down at that little tape recorder, I was like, oh, you're about to lose me.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I
fix
started
that
encountering.
because I want to play lots more.
I started encountering puzzles that I was just like, okay, cool. Finish the first bit, finish the second bit, finish the third bit. Got the fourth bit wrong. It reset everything else. Oh my god, so frustrating.
See, mine hasn't done that. It's only I've only had to go back one puzzle and redo it, which is pretty straightforward because the answer's already up there to reconnect the power.
Yeah.
So I'm worried. I don't know what you're talking about, and now I'm like, oh damn.
Yeah.
'Cause that's a punishing thing to do.
One thing I can see immediately, which appeals to me a great deal, is there's like a starting area which you kind of have to complete and get out of. And then once you've done that, I'm pretty sure it's fully open world. So the way that
Yes.
you and I complete the game will be completely different.
I've already encountered difficult puzzles that I haven't had any kind of introduction to the mechanics. Like there's little symbols on there. I don't know what they mean.
Yeah.
So I know I've missed areas. I'm trying to go back now and look for more basic puzzles that'll give me the, the learning that I need.
Yeah. Yeah, I think there will be connected things too, I'm sure, where you might need to do one thing before you do another. Yeah. We'll see. It's going to do my head in for a while, which is cool because that's exactly the kind of game I like. So, yeah. Aside from The Witness, which I'd love to talk more about, but probably need a lot more time before I can, Scrap Mechanic. Now, Scrap Mechanic is a game that has just gone into...
Early access?
Early access.
Early
That's the
access,
one I was
yeah.
thinking of. Yeah. So it's gone into early access. It is... Look, I'm going to draw a lot of similarities to Minecraft here, but I'll explain what the differences are too. So think about Minecraft in terms of it being open world, a lot of crafting. You've got a whole list of components you sort of build stuff out of. Now, this game is similar to Minecraft. It will eventually have a sort of creative mode and a survival style mode where you're sort of fighting against different sort of creatures that are in the environment. And I believe for Scrap Mechanic, it's sort of themed around you being in a rocket ship that crashes, and that's where all your sort of, scrap materials come from, and you have to fight robots and things like that. At the moment in early access, it is only in creative mode, and there's very sort of limited functionality in terms of your palette of parts. There's clearly going to be a lot added to the game as time goes on. You've just got a small sort of map to work with at the moment, and there's no sort of centrally located servers. It's pretty much local player servers only. So when Jam and I were playing the other night, for instance, she was logging into my game and we were just playing there, which unfortunately meant that anything that she built was only existing in my sort of save file as opposed to somewhere where she could access it again at a later time, which is a little bit annoying. It'd be better when there's like a more of a centrally located server that you can log into and then sort of jump back into at a moment's notice. But yeah, the game is more sort of themed around building contraptions that have a much greater degree of functionality than you'd expect in your standard Minecraft kind of build. So in Minecraft, you've got redstone and a few different moving parts and lights and things which you can create functionality with, and it can get pretty detailed with being able to have like command blocks that you can sort of program to a certain extent, and that allows for very, very elaborate builds. The difference with Scrap Mechanic is that it works with a much more robust physics engine, so you can actually build things that interact in a real world environment that isn't restricted by like a three-dimensional grid, if you like. So to give a really, really simple example, one of the first things I did when I got into the game is I actually stacked as a pile of tires, because tires are one of your building parts, and then I just knocked out the bottom tire to see how all the others would react, and they literally sort of fell apart and rolled down the hill like you'd expect them to in real life. It was very realistic in that way, which was kind of cool. And so there's an in-game tutorial which sort of shows you how to build a little car. And the way that you do it is quite straightforward. You put a few little sort of moving pistons and wheel bits, and there's a steering sort of mechanism that you sit in, like a bucket seat, like a go-kart, and you connect all the things together and you wire them all up, and then you basically got a car that is powered that you can drive around, and you can expand on that as time goes on as well. And of course, there's other cool things in there that allow you to have a bit more fun than just building a straight up car, like booster rockets. So you can actually, put a bit of oomph on that vehicle that you just built and put a whole bunch of rocket engines on the back and just really fly along. Or you can do what I did, which is like just put a whole bunch of containers stacked end on end to create a real rocket and put like 30 thrusters underneath and set it off and promptly lose it.
That was funny.
Oh, it was hilarious. So yeah, this thing just fired up into the stratosphere and hit the roof of the game environment and came down somewhere. I found it like an hour later. It was pretty funny. So yeah, but the way that the parts move and they can rotate to a certain sort of position, and you can actually set how far they're supposed to rotate, and even set up little programming blocks which dictate in which order each of these will interact in as well. You can make full-on transforming sort of objects. So you could have like a house that fully sort of folds apart and turns into a vehicle, and then you can drive off in it. And there's sensors in the game as well, so you can even program things to start activating and operating when something comes within range of the sensor, which is really super cool. So one of the things that I immediately thought when we were building all this stuff, because there's power and mobility with all the wheels and jets and that kind of thing, is it'd be a really, really cool game to build like a racetrack kind of environment in, and people could build their own custom vehicles and that sort of stuff. So like a literal go-kart course where people build their own karts and rock up and race them and see who's got the best build, sort of thing. So,
I can see that happening.
Yeah, absolutely.
It won't be me. Crash and burn, but
yeah,
it'll be fun to watch.
I think for that sort of thing to work really well, though, they'll need that central server sort of set up, because otherwise it'll be a bit too tricky for people to have to hop in and build everything from scratch every single time. So, but yeah, really enjoying it so far. It's getting stuff added to it all the time. It is only early access at this point, so I'm going to keep an eye on that and see how it develops. But it's looking pretty promising. Graphics are very, very nice as well.
Sounds like a mixture between Gary's Mod and Minecraft with a hint of Besieged in there.
Sure. Could be an okay description, I guess. Yeah. I mean, the thing that it's massively missing compared to Minecraft is, of course, the mining. So the whole resource gathering thing doesn't exist in the game at the moment. I've got no idea how that's going to work when they actually sort of open up the survival style mode of it. So whether you'll actually have to dig around in wrecks of, spaceship to find the parts you need, or whether you'll have to, get them by defeating robots and things like that, or a combination, who knows? So we'll have to wait and see. So, Secret World, I jumped into a bit as well. So I've played a lot less than Ollie, and my impressions...
Corrupted everybody.
Yeah.
Yes.
My impressions so far are fairly decent. One thing I really do like about the game is the questing mechanics seem to be a lot more creative than what I've experienced in a lot of MMOs. So there's a lot less of the kill quests and the fetch quests, and there's a lot more of the interact with your environment sort of stuff and solve puzzles, which I appreciate a fair bit. So just a really simple example is one that I've just finished, which is in like a zombie infested town. You've got like a multi-stage quest, which this one involved basically working out the best way to kill hordes of zombies. So the way you do that is you walk down a road, you have to kill a few zombies to complete one part of the quest. Complete the second one, you have to work out how to attract them. So you actually end up jumping on the roofs of cars and setting off car alarms and attracting them that way. And then you work out that setting them on fire is a good way of getting rid of them. So you actually have to find you have to find gas cans on the road, spill them, set it on fire, and lead the zombies through them. So it's not about killing them. You actually get the quest completion tick when you set zombies on fire by leading them through the fire, which is pretty cool. Then you have to fight like a boss one, and then you sort of complete the quest chain. So just a little bit more creative than a lot of other games, which I appreciated. And if the questing remains like that, then I think it'll be a lot of fun. Did an interesting one with Jam as well, which I think you'd worked out the solution to it earlier on, which involved like a radar tower that you had to repair by getting a whole bunch of parts, and then it has a Morse code signal that you need to decipher.
Yes.
We skipped the decoding bit because I had done it previously.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's fun because you've got to actually apply your brain.
Yeah, that's one thing I'll chime in as well and say I generally like the investigation missions.
Yeah, you did really well with the investigation missions.
Knowledge
you
of
powered through them.
Occultness and bad Latin proved to be very useful, it turns out. So I like that because it actually forces you to use real-world research. So I was looking up Bible passages and whatnot, trying to figure out how they applied to a situation. It was very cool.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to us getting to an area because I've only done the investigation missions in the first and part of the second area. So when we're up to the ones I haven't done, we'll all just be like racking our brains trying to figure it out. It's going to be awesome.
And last but not least, I also powered through the rest of Life is Strange. So I think when we recorded last week, I had finished episode 2 of 5. So since then, I've gone and finished 3, 4, and 5 and done the ending. So overall impressions of the game is I liked it a lot. I think it was really, really cool. It certainly, mechanic-wise, was a step up from a lot of the Telltale games because it's walking around a 3D environment and the interaction level and the time travel mechanic that I spoke about last week all make the game a lot deeper. The story was very, very cool. I had some minor annoyances with it, and one is a typical one with pretty much any game that involves time travel. There's always one thing that they completely screw up, and you're just like, no, that's not how that works. There's no way in any world that could be the way that works. What are you doing? It's broken my sense of immersion. So
Not everyone can be the Doctor, Luke.
No.
Like what, Luke?
Yeah. Are you going to tell us, or is it a spoiler?
Elaborate, or is it plot relevant?
It's a tough one to elaborate without spoiling completely.
Oh,
but
don't do it then.
All I'll say is that there is certain decision points that you go back to and change, and that sort of splits the timeline and creates like a different reality that you end up in. But there are certain changes that you make and consequences of those changes that shouldn't exist, if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah.
That's disappointing.
Yeah, so, it was, I mean, it gets really, really weird towards the last episode, and there's a lot more serious consequences of mucking around with time, which I won't sort of go into because it's major spoiler territory. But it was still good. Like, if you suspend your disbelief like you'd have to with any game involving time travel realistically, then you still have a good time with it. It's not a big deal at the end of the day, but just because part of the game relies on a little bit of investigation, it kind of dulls that a bit when things don't make sense. But yeah, anyway. There is a very, very cool scene where you actually have to do some real sleuthing and piece clues together that you found, and I like that a lot. The way that they did it was very, very cool. But it has the problem that a lot of narrative games of its nature have, and this is the complaint that a lot of people had with even going back to Mass Effect's ending. In that you make a whole bunch of choices throughout the game and a whole bunch of different options and things happen, and then everything railroads you towards an ending of only one or two options. So,
that's the worst.
Yeah, it's a little frustrating. I don't mind it so much because a lot of the mileage you get out of the game is sort of how the story plays out up until that point, and the story changes, dramatically depending on the decisions that you've made. But I think that in this case, they probably could have had a few additional alternate endings, and it wouldn't have damaged the narrative at all. But studios obviously have limited budgets, and realistically people are only going to experience one or two of those endings at the end of the day, so putting a whole bunch of time into developing things that people are never going to see, I don't know if it's a high priority for them, but I just wish that they would. I think it would make the game a bit better. But anyway, the endings were good. I wasn't disappointed by them. There was one that I thought was clearly better than the other because I did play through both of them. But Jam, you'll have to go through and experience those yourself and tell me what you think.
And then you'll tell me if it's a good one.
No, you'll work out which one's the good one.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I'll have ballsed it up completely if I get the bad one.
Well, no, it's not bad. It's just not as good. So
Okay.
there is one that is the ending's quite brief and still satisfying, but the other one is, there's a fair bit more stuff that happens, and I think you get a bit more story that way. So, but there you go. That was fun. What about you, Imogen? What have you been playing?
Nothing anywhere near as in-depth as what you guys have been playing. I did jump into the Secret World thanks to a free code that somebody had, so that was exciting. But my sum total in that game is, maybe 30, 40 minutes now. And every time I've been there, the first time I was in there, I was with two people, and one of them was Jam, and just sort of ran through stuff. And it got to the point where I was like, I don't know what's going on, but these guys are so high level that everything's just melting before me. So I'll just run around and follow them, and sort of getting some basic mechanics. So jumped on a little bit today to try, and there is things that you need to learn for yourself as well, I feel. I don't know. Well, today when I went on by myself, I was just like, I don't understand how to find things. There was X's before, now there's no X's. And because I'd skipped past all of the sort of hints telling you what to do the previous time. But no, it seems good. I really like, my favorite part of it so far is that not just that the quests seem a little bit more, you have to do a little bit more searching and it's not as easy to do. It's also that you don't have to run back and hand in the quest every time.
Yeah.
So that's the biggest thing with MMOs for me, is like you'll run out and you'll kill 50 wolves and then you'll run back with the pelts, and then you've got to go back out to the same section and get the next level, and then you've got to run back. And so it's that running around time that is the grind part of an MMO, and that doesn't seem to be there so far for Secret World, because when you complete some quests, it just says you send a report because it's in the modern world, so they just sort of send it, I don't know, via text. Completed quest, lol. I don't know how it works. So that's been really good. Very early observation. I had a lot of fun playing Armello this week with people and just with myself against the AI. I had my first ever win, not by prestige. Woo! I've had this game, so there's 4 different ways to win. And prestige seems to be the one that I'd only ever seen, which means basically you get the most well-known throughout the land when the king dies. So you either someone else tries to kill the king, but they die at the same time, or the king just dies of the rot, the plague, basically. And because you're the most well-known, they make you king, which doesn't make any sense to me, but there you go. So that's how it had always ended. And I managed to get a win by Spirit Stones, which was really cool, which meant that I would just basically went up to the king and cured him, which was great. And then I also had a win by defeating the king myself, which was very exciting. I felt very powerful. So now I just have one more way that I have to master how to get that, which is quite difficult, which is by being the most rotten myself. And that's going to be quite difficult to achieve, I suspect, because as soon as you are corrupted, you lose 1 health every morning. So you're just continually dying, especially the characters that are geared towards that ending. So that'll be interesting battle, and we'll see if we can achieve that. And I played Rocket League, which was stacks of fun. I think most of the time we were either laughing at other people playing the game and their nicknames, or ourselves, which is always nice when you play a game like Rocket League, because I think sometimes the skill curve just reaches a level and it's just super steep. I could not for the life of me work out to sort of how to quote unquote fly, which is sort of you double jump and you kind of spring up in the air. And everyone else seems to be able to get, hundreds of feet higher than I ever feel like I can achieve. So we've got that one.
I haven't figured it out yet either.
It is a tricky thing to do.
It's tricky, and so in between each game when we're loading up, I've been, trying to do the training course, and I've been trying to hit the suspended ball into the goal forever.
You're having the trouble I'm having. It's not moving.
Exactly. It's not moving.
It's stationary, and I can't hit it.
I swear I touched it that time. So I've got one hilarious video, which is just the slow-mo of a ball going in, like, somebody hit the ball in, and I just kind of jumped up to try and block it, but I managed to jump up just a second too late. So all you can see in the goal video is just me flipping up underneath it just a second too late. And for whatever reason, that was the most hilarious thing we'd ever seen at the time, and it took us quite a while to recover that.
That's
Probably
fun.
my favorite game was the game we went in and some pretty heavy smack talk from the opposite team without
Yeah.
even starting the game about how we were going to lose and words that I'm not going to repeat. Straight up, and we beat them 10-2. So that's the best victory I think I've ever had in Rocket League.
It was a beautiful thing.
It was glorious. And, no other games that I played. Maybe a little bit of WoW, but
Oh,
that's
yeah,
not
no other
consequential.
games.
Oh, just a tad.
I like how you just glaze over
Oh,
that.
tab.
Just a bit of WoW relapse. Yeah, nothing serious.
It's not a relapse. I can quit any time.
Sure.
No, you guys were all playing the Secret World one night, and I had WoW downloaded on my computer, and I thought, well, I'll go in and I'll see what the deal is. And so I went in and discovered that I have a level 100 character, which I entirely forgot about. So maybe I do have a problem.
What's the level cap?
100. So I thought that I hadn't reached the level cap on one of my characters. I thought I was sort of on the way, but obviously I did, and that was obviously a memorable experience for me. So yeah, I have a Death Knight ready to go at 100, and I went back and had a look at my old sort of legacy character, and she's all busted up. And had a little bit of a run around and reacquainted myself with the spells and everything like that. So
how many
but I only
months?
did it for like 20 minutes.
I was going to say, how many months
and
has
then I
it
got
been
off
since
and I
your...
continued my life.
How many months has it been since your last hit?
When did Legion come out?
Legion's not out yet. That's
Warlords of Draenor.
that was about 18 months ago now, I think.
Okay, so it would have been about 17 months ago.
Oh, really? And you hadn't let your sub lapse. You were actually you were subscribed
No.
the whole time.
No, I didn't subscribe. I just resubscribed.
Oh.
I intimately know how to log into my account and suspend my whatever. I'm not a forever subscriber. I will pay for a month and then go back in and suspend it
Yep. Okay.
instantly. So that's what I've done this time. I just played for the 1 month, and then you go back in and you say, don't want to continue my subscription.
Yep.
It just gives you a month to sort of play around in there. The great thing about it is it's instant, and so it is really easy and I think cost effective in a way if you know you're not going to play a whole stack and you're going to pick it up again. So yeah, I paid for about a month and obviously got a character to 100, which I don't remember. And that was just before they introduced the Navy and all of that you can do out of your garrison. So I had grand hopes of going in and doing that. But to be honest, again, it's playing it by myself and not with people. Doesn't really, I don't enjoy playing hours in that game by myself. I enjoy it when I can play with people. So.
Yeah. I think we'll change that later in the year. We'll see how.
Well, I don't know. The complication's going to come is that I have 9 different characters, but none of them are on servers that you guys are on.
Which you will also have a free boost to level 100 that you can use when you purchase your copy of Legion. So,
Yeah, and whether I want to use that on one of the new races / what's the word? Class.
Class, yep.
Whoa, that I'm looking at that, or whether I want to boost something that I've already got. Turns out we've got about 5,000 hunters, so it's probably not going to be that. and yeah, I'm just glad that no one's Alliance.
Yes.
Happy about that.
Yep. For the Horde all the time. Yep.
For the Horde.
Absolutely.
Just whisper under you, for the Horde.
For the Horde. Yeah. Horde side. Anyway.
Send all your angry emails about the Horde to...
to gives no shits at partyloaded.com.
Anyway,
yeah. All right, sweet. So should we switch it up into some gaming news of the week? We've got a short list of stuff. Ollie, you probably should talk about the Star Wars Battlefront DLC, given that you've been playing that game a lot more recently than us. So what's coming soon?
Well, I'm the only one that plays it.
That's what I was getting at. Yeah.
Thing.
So yeah, there is some new free DLC coming. Apparently Wednesday, which is today, actually. So I don't know if it's out today or if it's next Wednesday. Not entirely sure. And then rolling out some extra stuff across the rest of the year. So things that they're adding in January is stuff like a new multiplayer modes for the Tatooine map, a couple of costumes for Hoth flavors. So you now have Hoth Luke and Hoth Han Solo. Where else we got? We got some daily challenges and events, and the option to create private matches. So if you don't want random twats coming into your game, you can now go, no, don't do that.
Yay!
You
So a
can,
few bits and pieces, and they said they're going to be doing a Death Star map later on. So
Ooh.
that should be pretty cool.
I hope it's got a trash compactor in it. That'd be kind of awesome.
Obit has one very obvious but fatal flaw.
And you glitch through the world and die. And also they're going to be doing a Endor map, which apparently will support 3 modes, which will be Q, and 3 of the best modes, actually, I think. Walker Assault, Supremacy, and Turning Point, which are by far my favourites.
What other stuff is cool? We got Division Beta starting this weekend, so is that literally Saturday, Jam? Is that coming up?
I believe so, yeah, or possibly Friday our time.
Now, is this the open beta or is this the one for pre-order customers only?
I believe it's pre-order. I
think that's the only way to get into the beta.
Yeah. So, we had a bit of a debate about this last time, whether it's a server stress test or something or other. But we've got a couple of friends that are going to be checking it out. And
yes, one already has downloaded, I believe. So Xbox One is January 28th to 31st. So that should unlock in Australia sometime. Gosh,
tomorrow,
maybe even tonight.
Yeah.
Tomorrow.
If it's Eastern Standard Time, people might get it soon. And PlayStation 4 and PC, Jan 29th to 31st.
Yeah. So, weird that it's broken up by a day or so.
Yeah, I think just Xbox gets a slight head start as some exclusivity. I don't know.
Timed exclusive.
I'm excited to hear people's thoughts and reactions because I'm just hoping it's positive.
You want it to be
I don't
good.
expect it to be perfect, but I want it to be fun. So, fingers crossed.
Yeah. All right, well, we've also got some new stuff that's been released and announced for Heroes of the Storm. So I think as of today, there's a new skin out for Leoric, which is like a space Leoric, which is kind of cool. It's like a little intro video they did. And 2 new hero classes. So now I'm gonna try and get this right, but you Imogen may correct me. So we've got the wizard character from Diablo 3, which is Li Ming.
Correct.
Yep. And from what I understand, she is a ranged assassin. Is that correct?
Yes, I believe so.
All right. And then we've got Zul, who is the necromancer from Diablo 2.
Yes.
So, and I believe that his big thing is that when he kills a opposite hero, he resets all his cooldowns, which is kind of along that necromancer theme, which sounds kind of interesting. So, yeah.
He also has some really cool, they released some of his dialogue, and because they're releasing more Diablo characters, there is now more interactions between Diablo's exclusive interactions between Diablo characters.
Yep.
So his reactions with Johanna, Li Ming, Tariel will all have specific ones, but the Tariel is a non-exclusive. It's not just him. It will be other characters' response to Tariel as well. But it's kind of nice for them to work in some of the lore that they've already got on some of the other Warcraft characters. So I don't know if you guys have noticed when playing, but they'll have specific. If you have a Warcraft character with another one in the lane, they'll have different responses to others.
Yeah. Makes sense.
So that's kind of cool. Li Ming looks good. Magic missile. So that's going to be interesting to play online. She's got a whole bunch of skins already. I guess, it's a formula, female character, not wearing an awful lot.
We just want to make it easier for people to cosplay.
Got to be popular, so let's make 5,000 skins for her that we can charge for.
Yeah.
And one of them will have sort of exclusive animations. So she's got a Star Princess one, which will have very pretty pink and purple, very girly things to go with her. Mm-hmm. I feel okay about this. I don't know. It's good to see more characters in the game. It'll change things up. There'll be a balance period. They were both in the last patch, so as far as I can find, there is no release date for those yet. They will just happen, much like Leoric did. But if you've played Heroes in the last 2 weeks, you realise the sizable patch you downloaded, and they're in there somewhere. I'm reading on the internet that a couple of people have managed to figure it out or have having access to them early and have reported a couple of things. So maybe Blizzard can get on top of that before a full release, but should be good.
Well, here's one for all Pokemon fans, which I'm assuming there are a few at least. They're celebrating the 20th anniversary of the game this year, which is kind of crazy. 20 years of Pokemon. So,
yep. You're really old now.
Yeah. Like I'm just trying to remember the first time I would have played one of the games. it wasn't 20 years ago. I'm sure it was a lot sooner than that, but that's a long time. But anyways, to celebrate, they're actually doing like a year-long promotion where they're giving away one of the rare Pokemon every month, either by going into various participating retailers or by downloading it directly from the online Nintendo service. So, and I believe the one for next month starts on the 2nd of February, and it is Mew, who's one of the sort of better-known rare Pokemon.
I know that one.
Yeah, that's it.
From the movie, guys.
From several of the movies, I think.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, these things are pretty hard to get hold of if you enjoy playing the game and sort of, enjoy collecting and trying to fill out your Pokedex. So, given that people have played these games across multiple generations and not been able to get hold of some of the rare ones from previous titles, it's a good thing for them to actually have another chance at grabbing them. So, it's pretty cool.
Never played Pokemon. Not one single time.
Yeah, are you going to give it a go when the Pokemon Go comes out for smartphones?
I don't know. I played the game from the developers. I'm not sure I've forgotten the name. Begins with I. Originally, and found it quite difficult to play where we live. So my main concerns would be sort of the regionality of us and whether or not that will impact our ability to play the game. But maybe. I mean, I used to watch the TV show before school every day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and I went to see it. I was super excited with the movie, collected cards for a while, but I've never played any of the computer games.
Did you get the movie card?
Got the special movie card. I threw it away. Doesn't exist anymore, unfortunately. But
Monster.
Yeah, really enjoy it. And, it's, colourful, adorable, contains pets, all of these exciting things. And I've never sort of picked it up. And I think it's probably, I did have a DS, but yeah, just never picked up a Pokemon. So maybe.
To be fair, that's kind of why I was asking, because I was thinking mentally, okay, Pokemon, let's look at the high points about this game and what boxes it possibly ticks for Imogen. Cute cuddly monsters, collectible stuff. Yeah, there's a few ticks there. Anyway.
Is there outfits? Can you get outfits for things?
There needs to be costumes.
Yeah, then Jamie will be in.
I think I played one once for 8 hours, got a shiny and stopped. I was like, yes. I did it.
We even stopped at PAX this year. We were lining up to see the Fallout 4, the Bethesda booth, and we just started watching Animal Crossing. We're just like, and it was like big letters across new shoes, and all of us were, new shoes. I've never played that game. I don't have any of the consoles that game is on, but I got super excited about the fact that they were releasing new shoes. No idea. Something built in me.
Cool.
I'm a sleeper agent for Nintendo.
Oh no! Yeah, Animal Crossing's a big thing. My son's got it now. I don't think he's played it yet, but yeah, it seems like a very, very popular game. Anyway.
I've deliberately avoided it.
There's some really good adult humor in it that is not too obvious. So for the adults who do play, there's a lot of stuff online of like some great interactions. Like I saw one the other day, which was like, I don't know, a character called Daisy was like, oh, let's not mention this flea thing again, because she was embarrassed she had fleas. And then in the corner, it was like, you make a note of this. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah. So that's exciting. 20 years is a very long time for a game franchise. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think one of the reasons why it's survived so long is because of the level of compatibility across titles. So, you've been able to take the Pokemon that you capture from one game into the next, even though we've gone across multiple generations of consoles now. So, playing on the original Game Boy Advance, there's been ways to sort of connect that up and transfer cartridges across to the original DS, because you could actually play the Game Boy Advance cartridges in the first DS, and then of course DS to 3DS has the same sort of cartridge slot you can transfer things across, and then now they're doing it via their online service, so you can actually have like there's a Pokebank where you transfer
Pokebank.
Yeah, it's actually called Pokebank.
So not only do you capture these beautiful animals and put them in a very small ball, which probably is not enough space or exercise for them, you then lock them away, and that's okay. In a bank.
Imogen.
Is there enough air?
They're not real. Just
yeah,
putting
all
that
right.
out there. Yeah.
Yeah, because you spent ages bitching about time travel in Life is Strange and time travel's a real thing.
Oh, snap.
I'm going to move along before I have to explain why that doesn't matter. Okay, you have a valid point. I'll concede that point. All right.
I'm going to send a high five emoji.
All right. So, apparently Insomniac have announced the Edge of Nowhere game. What's that one about?
It's more of an announcement of an announcement. It's going to be an Oculus Rift VR. It looks kind of spooky, but there's not much to it. They're going to be releasing more in the near future. But it looks interesting.
Right,
We're going to be making an announcement about this very soon.
So
Yeah.
from what I can see, you're going to an Arctic region of some description, and it looks Lovecraftian, so that's fine. But Insomniac Games are the guys that made Ratchet and Clank.
No.
That game is great.
It is, but it's not a horror game, and this is looking like a horror game.
Naughty Dog grew up. You know, these developers, these studios can grow up with their fan base. It's interesting and it's exciting. And it's going to be VR tech, so I'm excited.
Actually, that's a good point. It's third-person VR as well. That's very different, because all the VR we've seen so far has been first-person, hasn't it?
I kind of think about third-person VR and I think, what's the point, you know?
That's why I'm intrigued.
Yeah.
You're introducing that sort of omniscient, that doesn't interact in the game kind of character, because they don't want to put a voice actor in it. So you kind of look from the outside, and it seems a little bit silly to have one of your first sort of VR announcement games to be from the third person.
Well, in terms of it, I mean, because there was another VR game that was announced recently. I can't remember which one it was, which was like a third-person view platformer. And the only reason I can think of that being a benefit is just from a puzzle-solving kind of perspective, where you're looking around at all of the possible options for, you know, movement and platform hopping. Otherwise, it would just not be the best use of that perspective, because, you know, VR, you want to be in the environment. You want to have that sense of immersion where you're looking through the eyes of the character. And if you're looking behind the character...
What was the name of that iPad game? Monument Valley. Imagine a VR game of Monument Valley where you had to turn your head
to look at the different
to shift the puzzle so that you could solve it.
That makes sense.
Manipulate the perspective. Yeah, that would be interesting.
Thank you, Jamie.
Yeah.
Words.
Yeah, that would be...
See, I would much prefer an AR version of Monument Valley, where you have your little Monument Valley on the table and you could walk around it.
Ooh, that would be cool.
That would be much cooler.
Yes, if it were Monument Valley, yes, but this is like an all-encompassing environment.
Yeah, this is completely different.
So, yeah.
We went up to 10.
So it's interesting.
Tangent.
Yeah, no, that would be cool. That would be very cool. So on the previous topic of Life is Strange, one of the key plot points of Life is Strange is an actual sort of contest that happens during the game, which is a photo contest called the Everyday Heroes Contest. So the main character, Max, in the game, is repeatedly sort of being prompted to enter this contest and sort of submit a photo. And what the company behind Life is Strange has done is actually sponsored an actual real-life Everyday Heroes photo contest. So you can actually enter that contest and going to the running to win a scholarship, I believe it is. So basically, the whole idea behind the Everyday Heroes contest is you submit a photo of a person, with an ordinary person basically doing extraordinary things. So, it might be someone, doing something heroic or doing something incredibly creative or just something, very, very notable. And they're going to be picking the top 3 finalists. They'll get special recognition on all of the social media channels for Square Enix and Don't Nod Entertainment. And they'll have their photos framed and signed by the developer and all that sort of stuff. But the company's going to grant one winner an Everyday Heroes Scholarship Fund, which is going to be worth $10,000 US. So pretty cool. Pretty cool.
That's great. Yeah.
So submissions.
I like things like this.
I like it too, like tying into the game, and a little slice of that is kind of cool. Submissions are going to be accepted on the event website from now up until the 16th of February. So, and when you enter your photo, you're required to enter a title as well and a bit of an explanation of their captured everyday hero to go into that. But otherwise, it looks like a fairly attainable contest for most people, and it'd be cool to see some of the entries. I think people will come up with some pretty creative ones, which will be really nice. So I really hope that they allow people to browse a gallery of more entries than just the ones that make the final cuts, because I think there'd probably be some pretty interesting stuff there. So.
Well, there's a gallery on the actual page for it already with photos.
Oh, nice. Cool.
With explanations. So there's a few up there already. Luke, you should enter. You love this game.
I do love this game. I'd have to think of something. I'd have to come up with some inspiration.
You get a scholarship.
Yes, maybe I'll think about it. Nice. All right. And what was going on last weekend in Australia? A little event called RTX. So anyone who's familiar with the folk over at Rooster Teeth will know that they do an annual convention in the US called the Rooster Teeth Expo. And this year was the first such event making it down to Australia as well. So took place...
Very exciting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I mean, more and more of these things are actually heading down under, which is great for us. Unfortunately, it is still over the other side of the country to where we are in Perth. This one was held in Sydney. So a bit of a travel and bit of commitment for us, just like PAX is every year, but still pretty cool. So there was a bit of news coming out of the weekend about RTX. What did you guys pick up on?
Some disappointed people.
Why were they disappointed?
Humidity, heat, long queues, no food, sold out merch. The 3 food trucks apparently that were there ran out of drinks very quickly. Yeah, I don't know.
Typical teething problems for
well,
first
if you have to queue for a queue,
Rooster teething, get it?
Second, queue for 3 hours to get into one panel means you miss half the day. It's unfortunate. It's I mean, I know it's being the first show out of Texas is going to be a bit tricksy, and they'll get better next year, but. There seemed to be some strange oversight.
Yeah, it feels like, I mean, the only complaint from me is that I have some serious FOMO, fear of missing out. And so watching it all happen on Twitter, I was very sad. But it's one of those things, it's kind of like a weird combination of, because it's one of the first times that a lot of the Rooster Teeth staff have come together to one convention. They've visited other ones, and they're always really popular at those. So it's kind of a first time they're having a convention at a venue, and it's being organised by a third party, which for them is unusual. They usually have control of that in the States. And then also on top of that sort of fear in people, like, if I don't go, what if they decide that it's not viable and they never come again and this is going to be my only chance? And so they get flooded by people. And what I saw on Twitter was these queues for signings from these people are already full, like, we apologise. And all of them were really active on their social media sort of to apologise to people and sort of do as much as they could to compensate for that. But I think a lot of people were just really keen to meet a lot of the staff.
Yep. I don't think that's
that's
not going to change in future years either. I mean, there's only so many of the Rooster Teeth personalities to go around, and it seemed like just about the entire friggin' team came over.
Pretty much.
I mean, who was missing? Really no one at all.
There was 2, so Jack and Jeremy, Jeremy the newest achievement hunter, and Jack.
Yeah, Jack Padelow.
His wife also did not come down, which
is weird,
she wrote this big...
Australian.
Yeah, she wrote this big sort of journal entry on their website, which is great. You should go check it out if you don't read it. But about how she could never have imagined that she would be at the point where she was seeing this happening in Australia, because she was one of the first people to create the community Roo Teeth, which is the Australian version of the Rooster Teeth fans.
Yep.
And so really excited to see it sort of take off the ground and have Hanabi are the third party who have sort of jumped on board to help run some Rooster Teeth stuff in Australia. On top of everything else, they were also launching their movie, which was a runaway success on Kickstarter. So a lot of people sort of attending premiere of that, which was held in Sydney, of course, again, with a lot of the cast being there. So Gavin Free, Bernie Burns, Gus Sorolla, I think, was there in time for that one. I'm not sure. A whole bunch of guys there for that one. And Michael Jones, of course, who's in the movie. But it was, I'm sad. I have not heard any of the sort of complaints other than from the staff themselves about that they didn't get a chance to see people. So it's a shame, but I agree. It's just maybe hopefully teething problems.
They did good too. I mean, they tried to do spontaneous signings where they could when they were free for a bit. But even those, I mean, they just, people would queue in a heartbeat. Suddenly it would just be
too long to even bother because they didn't have that much time. So they were trying to pick it up, and I think next year it'll just be even better.
Yeah. Well, the Rooster Teeth guys have always traditionally been really good at having a presence at PAX Australia, and at that event they are wildly popular. Like the Rooster Teeth booth, whenever any of the actual crew are there, there's queues just going for days. Like literally, if you ever wanted to get a signing or a photo with any of them, you'd be waiting for quite a while.
Yeah.
So you'd think that wouldn't be quite as bad at a all Rooster Teeth event because there'd be a fair few more of the personalities to go around. And I guess that's not the case when you've got crowds that size. They're all coming for that at the same time. So,
and every single person there is a Rooster Teeth fan, unlike PAX where you've got like a general mix.
Yeah,
So
that's fair.
they just probably didn't anticipate so much love.
Yeah.
Yeah, the community here is just absolutely gigantic, and to turn out in the numbers that they did, and so much support they've got, I really would be surprised if they didn't return or weren't planning for bigger and better things next year.
Well, they've got a new venue next year, so
really?
that will fix a lot of problems.
And money-wise, it's not a bad time to be traveling to Australia and running an event like this because every US dollar is like worth $1 million of ours. So, yeah.
Welcome to our country. You are rich now.
Exactly. That's what the film industry is benefiting from it big time. So this is a similar sort of vein, I guess. There you go.
One of the really cool things they did was that interactive panel. Did you watch the video?
Oh, was this
the
the Ruby one?
The mocap one.
Yeah, they mocapped Yang and Ruby from Ruby, and it was cool. I only saw snippets, but it's such an amazing idea. The crowd got to talk to the characters.
Okay, so that was the one with Lindsay Jones and Barbara Dunkelman?
Yeah, they were backstage. They had GoPros watching their face. They had buttons where they could change some expressions, and they got to just have questions thrown at them. So on the screen on stage, the characters were there responding to the questions from the audience. It's such a neat idea.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to watch that later on.
That's really cool.
I love Ruby.
It does look very
I'm only
cool.
new to it, but I am enjoying it greatly.
I think it's one of the great things with this day and age. If you do miss a con like that, at least a portion of it will be available to view online via Twitch or YouTube. So yeah, that's good. It's good. Well, I mean, that's a really good segue too. Sort of talking about the Oz Rooster Teeth community and segueing into communities in general. So one of the things we wanted to talk about tonight was online multiplayer communities and some of the traits of that. So we've done a fair bit of multiplayer gaming in recent times across a whole bunch of different game genres and different styles of communities. So we thought tonight we'd dig into a bit of a chat on how some of them compare to each other and some of the differences and things that you might expect if you're diving into each of those. So, Ollie, do you want to kick us off? Because one of the first things we sort of wanted to do was to break down the gaming platform communities and sort of see how some of those differ. So what are your thoughts on, say, console versus PC and things like that?
So for me personally, playing console versus PC, I find that, and this is just personal experience, we should preface, everyone's experiences will be different.
Yeah.
We've just got our own board of experiences across the four of us. So we're trying to hopefully capture as much as we can. So for me personally, I found console communities to be a little bit, I want to use the word snarkier and less mature. I know I'm going to annoy a lot of people by saying that. But I first got into console gaming online with original Xbox and Xbox 360, and that's the chat in that was not pleasant at times. And I'm talking like Call of Duty and Battlefield and whatnot, and the chat in those games at times was quite colourful.
Yeah.
Colourful language.
Learned some new words.
I did.
I've
I
got
had to
a couple
Google
of
a few
theories
things.
on that. I want to see what you think of these theories. So one theory I've got is that the console market in general is pitched towards a younger audience. It's a bit easier for kids and teenagers to sort of get into console gaming as opposed to PC gaming because of the lesser technical knowledge required. So that could be one of the things that perhaps contributes to that slightly.
I'd agree with that.
Mature audience, yeah. But the other thing too is that I think that PC gaming in general has a lot more mechanisms associated with it to enable sort of community discourse, whereas consoles are limited usually by the software available to that console. So you know, when we're talking PC gaming, we've got, you know, the entire Steam forum community. We've got, you know, internet forums in general. You've got, you know, a lot of broader ways of communicating with each other. But with console gaming, a lot of the communication happens is driven by the games themselves. So the way that you can actually interact with other players or other characters within that game. And some of the games that you play don't have a very good sort of system for that, really. So the level of anonymity is kind of increased, and therefore people, you know, act a bit more, you know, carefree about carefree about how they come across to other human beings on the other end of the connection. So, you know, what do you?
Yeah, it also, I mean, I think for console versus PC, I think there's sort of a very sort of top layer you could sort of skim off and say, like you said, that there's a theory about the accessibility of it. But I think when you go deeper, the larger part is a lot of what you're playing on console in multiplayer, where you would have the opportunity to speak to people, is highly competitive. Yeah. So we're talking about, you know, your COD Blops and Halo and things like that. So these are ones where you're directly being pitted against each other and those types of things, as opposed to a longer form game where maybe you'll be encouraged to help each other do something, or it's a bit more complicated or long and involved in order to have that kind of competition. I think the higher the stakes in terms of competition and stats and whether or not you're going to get the most XP or top the leaderboard, that's when that toxicity starts to seep through.
Yeah, competitive communities definitely have a different standard that they work by. I think, you know, because often part of this can be the game's fault as well, because games that aren't great at matching up players of equal skill level are probably going to exacerbate this more than others. Because when you're playing at a certain high skill level, and if someone comes in that is not of the same level and sort of brings down your opportunity to do well at that game or win that game, then, you know, it's understandable that a certain amount of frustration will come out, because it's a huge time investment for the people who, you know, try and play at that high standard, and that getting dragged down by someone's not going to be a particularly pleasurable experience for them or for the other person.
But you don't have to call people names to deal with that.
No. I mean, that's true, but it's going to naturally happen. People get frustrated and do dumb shit. So, yeah.
So I'm going to focus personally more on PC, because that's where I do the vast majority of my gaming compared to console. And even on PC, you have a lot of different communities. So the community in FPS circles is very different to the community in MOBA circles, and as I've discovered, is very different to the communities in MMO circles, for instance. So, Imogen, you had a great experience in the MOBA circle that illustrates our point quite nicely.
I was so sad. I was visibly saddened. It was in Heroes of the Storm. So previously in Heroes of the Storm, I have made comments on the podcast, I believe, that I felt like it was a MOBA, but it was different to the other ones because it was allowing people to enter in various skill levels, and other people didn't seem to have sort of as much of a problem if you were learning, or people were a bit more helpful, and certainly nothing very horrible said about you. I had an experience last week where I hopped on with another friend of ours, and we played online against other people. And of course the stakes get higher, but I've done this before and had no problems. And I played 3 games in a row, both against people. Thankfully, I can't see what they're typing. But people in our team were horrible and awful, whereas previously I'd only had great experiences. We played this one game. I jumped in with my friend and he said, look, I'm learning a new character. I've been doing this for a little bit. I'm copping a lot of hate, just pre-warning you. They're going to, not be happy about playing with me. And I said, rubbish. Like, it'll be fine. Like, that will just be the occasional person. And almost instantly they crucified him for something that he did. And his response would not have been my response, which was, what's with the rage?
Just stoke the fires a little bit.
Didn't go down well, let's say. And so we finished that game, and I said, well, I have to play again because I feel really angry about what just happened. I feel like we were trying, but it's really difficult in a team where you don't have voice chat, or you've got two people, and then another person. It's hard to coordinate, especially when the other team seems to be coordinating quite well, or they're all able to communicate quite well, or a higher level. And played 2 games and it only got worse. And I finished that night. I have not opened Heroes of the Storm again since. And I really hope that I can I think when I play with you guys, it's when we play with the full team of 5, I do not think I will play on another team where the majority of people are somebody else. It seemed to be okay when I was by myself, But as soon as you're sort of two people, then you start being like, oh, you two just did this, or you two just did that. And it was really bad. Some awful, awful words were said, and I did not enjoy it whatsoever. So I said to you guys that my theory is that maybe previously Heroes of the Storm, being a fairly new game, had not reached that sort of critical level. There wasn't a big esports presence. There wasn't a big tournament presence. And now that there is, stakes are higher, people are starting to be more competitive, and people get really angry when you don't do what they want you to do. So none of these comments were directed because we were necessarily bad. It was just that they were trying to do a particular strategy, and we were supposed to be able to read their minds to do that.
It's kind of ironic, really, because people who are trying to play ultra competitive wouldn't be playing with randoms on their team anyway. They'd actually have a...
Exactly. If you're going to go play with randoms, then your communication really should be at a level where you probably have to be a bit more tolerant. Yes, you are going to get some people who are fairly new or whose play style is entirely different to you. The biggest problem that we had is all those 3 games, our team build was all over the joint. And we had 2 support characters and everyone else was an assassin. The only sort of tank-ish character we had was one that you'd really have to have a very specific build and a very good player to play. Unfortunately, the person who we usually play with was not that person. So, unfortunately. So, the team build-up wasn't good. And so my experience previously is we'd go on and someone would be like, okay, our team's not a great build. How about I try and do this? And we'll be like, oh, well, we tried, those types of things. And that was a really nice experience, just not this particular evening. So there you go.
See, that sounds to me like, as you said, now that there's an esport presence for HOTS, it's going the route that Dota and LoL did. Because when I first tried them out, I was like, oh, what's this MOBA game system? Let's try it out. And because there was an esport presence, good Lord, the initial community was toxic. It was, if you did not know exactly what you were doing, you got your shit pushed in. And both in-game and by your own teammates, just with the abuse.
I had a very...
That put me off MOBAs completely. I went, nope, I'm good. I don't need that.
Yeah, I'm similar to you, Ollie. I had a very negative sort of entry to League of Legends when I first tried that out. And, I was prepared for it because, I think that the problems with the games community are very well documented, and they're certainly not a secret if you've done any form of research.
Oh, God,
at all.
no.
Yep. But I mean, I was no less disappointed to find that it was actually, fairly accurate to what I'd heard. And the problem for a new player too is you kind of get into this position where you jump into a game like League of Legends for the first time. You run some tutorials, you play against the AI a little bit, and then you're venturing into the realm of playing with real people, which is ultimately where you have to end up in order to actually improve your skill at the game. And unless you invest a ridiculous amount of time into researching every nuance of the game you possibly can with online articles and blogs and, sort of walkthroughs and things before jumping in and playing with real people. And even then, you can't possibly substitute the knowledge and experience for actual time in game. It's just one of those things you have to spend the time playing with people who are better than you in order to get any better. And it's not a great experience for those people because they obviously want to be playing with people of the same skill level, but they're never going to get people with the same skill level unless there's some sort of progression for people, learning those skills in the game. So it's just not a winnable situation for anyone in that example. And they hate it, and they let you know about it in no uncertain terms, and it's not a fun experience.
Well, that's the thing. Like I've said this before, and it's going to become a catchphrase or a hashtag or whatever, but not everyone has a Dave. So, and for me, playing Heroes of the Storm, and Justin to a certain extent as well. So these are 2 guys who are good at MOBAs, who know Heroes of the Storm, and so when we play with them, they do get frustrated. You can tell because we're trying really hard, but we're just not pro league like they are. But that's really good because to playing with people and they go, okay, well, we didn't do so great, but it's fine and we'll try again, and everyone's just learning, and so you can be more tolerant of it. But I myself was getting angry in that situation because I felt like, why aren't we doing this? We should be doing this. We should be going to collect this. This should be the most important thing that we do. And they're all off running, doing all of this other stuff. But I guess my immediate reaction to that isn't to call someone the C word and insult their mother. So and it's just, I don't know. People have to, I don't know, people maybe play these games to release stress, and that's the way that they do it. But it's difficult for a developer to control that, though. Or, the only thing that I can think in that particular example, which would have maybe made it a little bit easier, is if they had some balancing around the team makeup, so that you weren't stuck in a hopeless situation against a group of people who were 3 tanks. Which was just an absolute slaughter. 3 tanks and 2 support on the other team versus 2 support and 3 ranged assassins. It's just not a good makeup of a team. You got wiped out. So apparently that's coming, and I don't know if that's something that they do in LoL or Dota. They do team balancing.
Well, yeah, I think there is, to a certain extent, a much more evolved way of the matchup happening, and it needs to, because the mechanics of the game are quite different as well.
Yeah.
We've obviously had that problem with Heroes of the Storm with the different character classes, because when you're going into a random team, the game doesn't seem to be particularly good at putting together a makeup that works perfectly, and maybe that is partly because there isn't a perfect formula for that, really. So,
well, I would argue that Blizzard has that formula, because Blizzard has that formula for World of Warcraft. And it works. They have a great system for finding a group. It's a system that's been emulated across other MMOs because it is so good. Because it will say, this is your quest. You need you to fill these roles. These are the roles you need to fill. You've got a tank, you've got a healer, and the rest can be DPS or whatever you want to make them up as. And it will only accept people who are the correct classes in those spaces. It does take a little bit longer to find games, but I would prefer that than ending up in a team with bloody Lily and Murky.
That being said, with Heroes of the Storm, you don't specifically go, okay, we're going to have 1 tank, 1 support, 1 assassin. Like, that's not how the game structure works, though.
Yeah, and the other big difference is that you're playing against players.
Still work.
Yeah, you're playing against players instead of the game as well. Like when you're raiding or doing a dungeon in World of Warcraft, you're not playing against another group of humans. You're playing against the game. So,
well, okay, yeah. Generally.
Yeah, you're setting your party up for a set environment versus another team. And that team could be completely random. You don't know. Whereas in an MMO, you're versing a very set instance.
Yeah.
So you need only very specific things.
True. I would think that there would be some form of smarts in the matchup in the background. I don't know how they would engineer that, but it seems like, to me, something that they traditionally do well with their other games and their other platforms. Anyway, that's a specific example with Heroes of the Storm.
Well, Rocket League has the same issue as well. If you play just random matches, more often than not, you get a reasonable game happening. As soon as you go into what you would consider to be the way to fix that, if you get on even teams or whatever, which is the ranked system, that game takes a different change. So in Rocket League, you have just free matches where you can have your group, or you can just join in a game, whatever. And I've found 9 times out of 10, that works completely fine and end up with a fun game. You'll have a couple of really high-level dudes, but it tends to balance out somehow. I'm not sure how they've implemented it, but it does. But as soon as you go into ranked with a group, so I had a couple of mates and myself do some ranked, and we just got our shit pushed in, even at the bottom tiers. Whereas in a random game, we'd quite happily verse most teams. So balancing teams is a very difficult thing, especially when you can have set groups and random drop-ins at the same time. That's a very difficult thing to balance. Yeah. And I actually genuinely can't think of any game that does balance it well. I actually cannot think of a game which has perfect team balancing off the top of my head.
Yeah, well, Jam and I experienced the same thing. It wasn't ranked play. But there was some awful, and you know what? It didn't bother me in that game, because I was in a group with 3 other people and we were having the best time. We met Rudiger. He was great. We theorized about where people got their nicknames, and between ourselves, without even talking to them, we did our own sort of back chat and things like that. But certainly, it would just sort of washed off. I can imagine if I was by myself, I'd be like, what the hell? What am I doing? I'm just trying. I don't know what I'm doing. I can't fly. But I don't know. It's something that is always going to have that human element, and there's always that grossness to humanity when it gets to that competitive level. I think that we feel like taking people down, and it has larger consequences. I mean, this is a major reason that we get a lot of queries about, what do I do with my son/daughter/niece, nephew, child to play these games? Like, they really want to play a game like this, but they're worried about what they're being exposed to, and people should be.
Yeah, I must admit, it's something I'm very conscious of it with, two young boys rapidly approaching the age where they're going to be multiplayer gaming at some point. So, yeah, it's pretty worrying. And I got to ask as well, I mean, this is probably a really pertinent question for both of you ladies, when it comes to multiplayer gaming. The reality is that you have to deal with a lot more crap than a lot of the guys out there will because of the way that the culture is sort of framed around, there's a lot of misogyny out there with the way that people interact with each other, and a lot of put-downs of that nature.
My experience, I mean, over many years, I've experienced all sorts, and for the most part, it hasn't been any worse than I've heard the guys cop, honestly. Like, every now and then, first time I jump on chat, there's a lol, girls on the internet joke, but it depends what kind of games you play. So my experience with multiplayer communities, my sort of delineation between the toxicity and the okay ones, it depends on basically whether there's any continuity with the people you play with. If you're just getting randomly matchmaked for one game and it's, a short style game like a Halo multiplayer, there's no consequence. You don't expect these people to recognize your name again, next time you happen to match up, maybe in 3 weeks' time. They don't care. It's just a quick pick-up, drop game. They can say what they want. They don't feel responsible, that sort of thing. Whereas if it's a different kind of game where you get, particularly if it's a smaller community, and even it can still be a competitive game, but you get grouped up with the same people over and over, I think it's a lot easier to build a really positive community. I used to play a lot of a little browser game called Tag Pro. And in Australia, on the Australian servers, that had such a fantastic community. Everyone was just so positive, and the people who were there to shit stir and mouth off were basically ignored for the most part, so it didn't proliferate. And also I find that when you've got those sorts of games like Halo where you can friend someone and, deliberately group up with them more often, you can be a little more choosy and try and find the same people who play the game that you want to play. They'll tend to go off and do their own things. Like, we'd get a regular group who would just bunch up in Halo 3, play some Infection on Sandtrap and talk shit to each other in the best possible way. Like, we were having fun. It was hilarious and there was no harm meant. Whereas the people who can't communicate like that and participate like that, they'll keep getting just pushed into the random matchmaking. They're not going to form these little cohorts, these groups of friends, because no one wants to associate with that regularly unless you happen to, be obliged to know them in real life.
I'm a masochist. Insult me.
Obliged to know them in real life.
Oh, well, yeah,
like Luke.
Oh, yeah, that's my cousin. Like Luke. So, that will keep getting filtered into the general pool of the pickup games that everyone's getting exposed to, while everyone else might, find their own way to move on.
See, I completely agree with that, because my first experience with online gaming, like my real first solid experience, like I did a bit of LANing with schoolmates and whatnot, and that was all good because everyone knows each other. My first real experience with like random wide open internet was Counter-Strike Source, and that that game has a very steep learning curve when you're starting it out, and there wasn't any bots, so you basically just went online, in you go, Sunny Jim, have fun, and. I completely agree with you on the random versus persistent community. So I played on a couple of servers only because they were the ones with the best ping, because old days internet. And the ones that we had persistent servers of, so the ones I played the most, you got to know the people, made friends with them. Hell, I even met one of them a few years later in Brisbane.
Real life?
So, yeah, IRL. I met one of them because we actually became really good friends. And the persistent communities were just so much better. Like, you'd still have your random drop-ins every now and then, that's fine, but there was a core group of gamers that was always on those servers, and it worked really, really well. Whereas if I were just to I'll try out this random map today, let's have a go. Doop-a-doop-a-doop. And yeah, I agree, it was much, much worse. So having that persistent community actually really helps filter a lot of the crap away.
Yeah.
And
if it can start positive, like some of the few smaller games with the small communities, if it manages to attract the right group of people to begin with, then it's more likely that they're going to influence and encourage that positive kind of behaviour. And you know, any sledging and shit talk that there is done in jest and you know, just for the sake of a laugh,
not serious
and not
business.
It's not trying to have a go at anyone, or especially if, you know, it's people laughing at themselves first and foremost. That's such a positive sign in any community. If you can go, ha ha ha, look what I did, you know, willing to chuck your hand up and say, oh, I goofed, and everyone's totally fine, move on. You know, it happens, especially for newbies. But yeah, some games seem to just, I don't know, be far more supportive in that aspect than others. And I can't really pinpoint how certain games get it right.
I think some games, just due to the nature of the game, it's almost like the type of people they attract are vastly different and can change the way the community operates. Like Minecraft is a classic example. The Minecraft online community is awesome from every experience I've had, and that's because I think you're attracting a lot more of the younger sort of market, but in a young but perhaps a little bit more mature kind of nature. People who aren't into just run around and kill everybody. They want to make stuff. It's they're creative. They're engaged in that way. There'd be a lot more families getting involved and a lot more non-hardcore gamers, like people who have maybe experienced Minecraft as their first real video game and things like that. So the difference of who they attract is a big thing. But I think there's actually a lot of examples of developers making very, very clever choices about the way they construct their games and how they actually craft the method of communication that players have available to them to actually promote a certain type of behavior. And Heroes of the Storm is one good example of that, because they very consciously sort of said in various news posts around the time of the game's launch that they weren't going to have supported voice chat in the game, and that might be a questionable choice.
Goodness.
Yeah, it may be a questionable choice when you consider that it's really difficult to type a message to somebody when you're playing and clicking furiously, but they have supplied methods to do that in game in the form of pings and things like that. You can type messages
it's
to
really
other.
simple, yeah.
Yeah, it's not too hard, but you can always voice chat with people who separately outside of the game, because you can use services like Skype or TeamSpeak or Mumble or any of those sorts of things. But it's a conscious choice they made about the way the game was designed to sort of remove some of that toxic behavioural option for the way people might scream at each other over a voice chat. Another really great example is Hearthstone. Now, Hearthstone, they made some really clever choices with the way that they let people interact with each other, in that they've actually limited it down to a very fixed palette of emotes during the game. So you can click on your character portrait and send emotes to your opponent, but you can't actually type free text at all in Hearthstone. So
such a good decision.
Oh, it was an awesome decision. And it was an interesting one too, because when it comes to card games, like when you think about playing professional poker, one of the things that you actually want to be able to do is to sort of, psych out your opponent and pick up on their behavioral traits and things like that. And if free text was an option, there'd be a lot more of a gameplay mechanic around that, I think, where you could sort of play that psychological game. But limiting it to emotes has kind of cut that down a fair bit. It's not that you can't, because you can definitely get cues from people in Hearthstone by which emotes they choose to use. Like, for example, if someone sends you a well played emote, which usually means that someone's about to land the killing blow and they know they've got the game winning finishing move, that's a bit of a tell. So if you could play that up a little bit, for instance, and send someone a well played to give them the impression that you've got the cards required in hand to win the game, when you actually don't. It's almost like a psych out, which is kind of cool.
I'm a big fan of the sarcastic thanks.
Yeah, exactly. There's a few that
when they play a card and you're like, yes, they played straight into my hand. I'm like, thank you.
Yeah, I mean, there are some examples in Hearthstone of people just going out of their way to BM their opponent, and BM, for those not the know, just stands for bad manners. So it's basically like using the emotes to annoy or harass your opponent.
Spamming them or whatever.
Exactly,
you can squelch them.
But you can squelch them. Yeah, exactly right. So Blizzard's actually implemented that control where if you don't want to have your opponent emote at you at all, you can just click on their portrait, squelch them, you don't get a thing from them. But that being said, I mean, most games that I ever play sort of consist of just a greeting at the beginning. You say hello to your opponent, and then, there's usually a well played when someone's about to win, and that's it. And it's a great system. I think it's quite polite. It's very gentlemanly, or gentlemanly.
Polite. So let's just say polite.
Polite, yeah. The gender neutral descriptor. So, and everyone has a great time. So, Yeah, I mean, there's examples of high-level play where people muck around with it a bit more, but I think it's a really good decision and really clever choices by the developer to sort of limit the toxicity there. So it's really good.
I think the same. I mean, maybe this is another Blizzard example, and where they're doing it differently. But my primary experience with speaking to multiplayers online and community has been in WoW. So that, for me, I have great memories of Baron's chat. Baron's chat is the best. Baron's chat is always about Chuck Norris. So Barons is an area in World of Warcraft. And whenever you go into Barons, it's still Chuck Norris to this day. Every time I've logged on, I've gone, right, first of all, I'm going to go to the Barons, and I fly from wherever I am straight back to the Barons. Without fail, within the first 10 minutes, someone will make a Chuck Norris joke. And that has been going for the nearly 12 years of WoW now, that has been a thing. And it's even filtered in. Occasionally I see it in the Heroes of the Storm general chat. Occasionally you get a little Chuck Norris thing. And I think for that, they had sort of separate areas, and you can't really communicate with the alliance of your horde, or vice versa. There certainly is sort of toxicity, and their biggest problem is they had was people spamming and advertising in their general chat more than anything else. But I've had the same experience with Oli. Like, what used to happen is you would play a lot online with people, and you sort of join a guild with people. You find out they live in similar places to you, and you meet in a very public space with these people. And I still have friends who I used to play with, and some of them, were friends of friends, and so that's how we met people. But lots of examples. But that don't have a big drive to do that anymore. And I don't know if it's because I have lots of friends who play games already, so I don't make a massive effort to make friends in game. But I just feel like the chatter is either easily ignorable in World of Warcraft or was well utilized. And they did introduce a sort of voice chat, but I think you had to be friends with the people to do it from memory. It has been some time since I used the in-WoW chat for anything. And like I said, there are other sort of group finding mechanics seem to be quite well balanced, but it's a lot easier to do in an MMO. Back to your topic when you were saying, Luke, about having different experiences as a female online. Nobody knows I'm a female online. And that's,
without voice chat, how could they?
Yeah, without voice chat, they don't know, especially in World of Warcraft, just because I play a female character could mean anything.
It wasn't so much about whether people know. It's more about, do you find it extra difficult because of that level of interaction that people resort to? So
no, maybe I don't know. I like to think that it gives me deal with it. I just don't interact. I just don't think there's any point. I don't have the need to compete at that level. I don't understand why you think it would be effective to swear somebody down, especially when they're in your own team. Fair enough if you want to backchat someone you're playing against and, tell them that they're an awful person, or, at the very least sort of do the mind games that you would in Hearthstone or something like that. And I think that's all in good sort of jest, as long as it's in good favour. But I don't understand why you would ever curse out somebody in your own team.
Yeah, it's not.
It's just not productive. That person will quit, which in a lot of games, that's a big issue.
Yeah, that's a loss.
Having a character drop out. Yeah, that's a loss. Having said that, Rocket League is very good at subbing in sort of their AI very quickly and then subbing somebody else in. So
it's the worst when the AI takes over because they're actually competent.
they make sensible choices.
They've got an AI player. We're fucked.
We're so screwed. They made someone rage quit. And so I think companies are doing what they can. I don't think anyone will ever be able to solve it. There'll always be trolls. Always, always, always. I think that doesn't mean we should accept it. But I also think that people should, if they feel like they're encountering them a lot, and this is what makes me feel bad about doing, is if I'm encountering these people a lot, what am I doing to provoke that? And that's the sort of feeling that I get. I'm like, well, maybe I'm not good enough. And then you don't play the game anymore.
That's unfair, yeah. It's just shit. No one should have to feel responsible for someone else's bad behaviour, but it happens too often. It's unfortunate.
Exactly. So it's in devs and these big developers' best interest to create these communities, and they do that through, these big events, and esports, I guess, is another sort of part of it. But I feel like esports is doing the negative thing for Heroes of the Storm. It's making it more competitive. We'll see how that goes.
So if you're playing online, the moral of the story is don't be a dick.
Just don't be a dick. Don't engage. Like if it makes you feel angry, going back with anger is never going. Who wins? Internet wins.
Yep.
Nobody wins.
You're playing a game.
Trolls win.
Playing
Yeah.
a game. It's meant to be fun, and keep in mind that not everybody is going to have the same skill level as you, and everybody's been in that position at some point in their gaming life. So,
Yeah, and if you use the
That being
C word,
said-
kittens will die.
yeah.
That being said,
Everyone uses
you do
C-word,
say people
guys.
are playing it for fun. Some people do play it as serious business, and that's how they find it fun. Like, someone will go out of the way, and they're practicing that COD map over and over again, or they're practicing that one character for Dota or Heroes of the Storm. And, yeah, for them, that's how they enjoy the game. And
But-
serious business playing, there's nothing wrong with that. There is
No,
absolutely
no.
nothing
You just
wrong
need to be
with
able to
taking a game seriously. There is
have
everything
those
wrong with being
different
socially
communities.
inept.
Yeah, like, and
So-
I've had experiences in Heroes of the Storm where I've played with random people, and they sort of say, really good, just be careful of this, and this in the future. Great, fine, no problem. I'll say, look, really appreciate it. Sorry, couldn't be more help. Something along those lines. But there is no need, and it's not constructive. And I think the sort of flip side of everything is that there's people out there who are doing serious business things, and so yes, they get more angry, but also I hit level 30 in Heroes of the Storm during those 3 games, and I do not feel like that was an achievement. It was not fun. I did not enjoy it, and it was a big deal. So by the same token, there's somebody out there who's played a lot of the game and feel like they were getting better at it, and it's going to take that one person to tell them and take them down.
If you're a competitive player and you're trying to, express your displeasure with the actions of teammates that are preventing you from being as competitive as you'd like to be, calling someone an effing C and putting them down is not the way to improve the situation. Actually giving them constructive feedback on how they could improve their gameplay is the way to improve that situation.
Yep,
So
exactly. I'm more than happy for people to tell me where I went wrong or what I could do better.
Yeah.
More than happy.
The biggest thing I find is you've got essentially 2 categories, or 3 categories really. You've got the people that play games just for fun, like I have some spare time, I'm going to have some fun online playing a fun game. You've got the people that go, okay, I'm playing this at esport, like proper professional, or I'm in a clan, I'm doing hardcore things level. And then you've got those people that are sort of tilting between the two, like they're a bit too good to be those filthy casuals, but they're not quite good enough for esports. And I genuinely think it's that middle ground which is the worst. So the fun casual guys are the ones that are like, yep, no worries, everything's great. The esport guys, and I've played with a fair few of these, they generally do the constructive feedback more because they want a better community. They would like to have a good, tight game. They don't want to just have a whitewash.
Yeah.
And it's those guys in the middle that can't decide whether they want to be fun or if they want to go to that next level up that tend to be that sort of angry outlash, like, oh, I read about this strategy and I wanted to implement and you didn't let me do it. God damn it, sort of thing. So I find that it's that middle tier of player is actually the most volatile because they themselves are unsure whether they are playing for fun or if they're playing it for serious business yet. Whereas people that go and are set in their mindset of either fun or serious business, because if you're playing esport level or you're playing or close to that or you're in a clan, you're doing all that sort of stuff, you're playing with people at that same level. You will have your teams. You will organize matches. You won't be doing random drop-ins. And so it is that middle tier of player that is actually more often than not at fault for those sort of outbreaks.
those filthy casuals.
Yeah. And look, there's nothing wrong with being a filthy
because
casual.
Filthy Casuals was the original kind of put down in online games. It's like, oh, you are so shit. You're probably just a casual.
And yeah, I found that in Counter-Strike.
And now it's just part of the vernacular, just something that we say to each other.
Yeah.
Like, you would always look at the bottom ranked people and like, oh man, those casuals, hey, they're really dragging down our team score.
I like to think it's just someone who's got a new computer that's super excited. They've listened to this really cool podcast about Heroes of the Storm, and they're going to jump in. Filthy Casuals.
I am a filthy casual, and I'm proud of it.
Yeah, whereas I know I'm one of those middle ground people because I've dabbled in the higher tiers of clan gaming, and I am not good enough for that. So I'm sitting in that middle tier. And I will admit, I will swear, I'll be annoyed at people, but I won't do it unconstructively, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Like, if I get annoyed at someone, I will tell them what they are doing wrong and how to fix it. So, Luke, stop doing puns. They're terrible. That sort of thing. I'll insult them and constructively feedback them rather than just dropping F-bombs constantly.
Yep. You'll just
also-
deliver the salt and there's just rubbing.
Exactly.
You also want the game to have smooth mechanics. If you've got people frustrated at the matchmaking, at latency, at server issues,
Oh, it
all
doesn't
those
help.
sorts of things, that's just going to arc people up. That's
Yeah.
going to increase the rage. Like things that help, Bungie's announced that they're going to improve the Destiny matchmaking by actually factoring in connection into the matchmaking formula, which is wonderful.
Right.
Just things like that, little pushes towards making it smoother and easier to meet up with someone near you or someone who can play, at the same latency. When you've got someone sitting on 30 ping and someone else spiking at 300, it's very difficult.
Especially for a shooter,
all
it's
parties.
the literal worst.
Yeah. And that's not going to help anyone. People start throwing shit thinking all sorts of things, but
Favourite
hey, they're
line.
3 seconds behind.
Favorite line ever is, "That's a bullshit lag, death." Favorite line ever from my time of gaming.
It's the dog ate my homework of online shooters, isn't it?
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
it's,
Oh,
I've
lag,
used
sorry,
it.
lag. Yeah.
It's true. It's like,
it's very
whoa,
true.
whoa, I shot you in the face and I'm dead. What happened?
Yeah, I've been shooting you for 30 seconds, your head's exploded, and now you knife me in the back. What?
Yeah.
So,
Nice.
yeah, so
Time I
many
force
factors.
punched Jamie in the head.
That was
It was fine,
deliberate.
and then suddenly Jamie.
Yeah,
That being
whatever.
said-
You lined me up.
Matchmaking now is so much better than what it used to be. Does anyone remember Warcraft matchmaking?
Oh, yes.
When it first came around, you would just get obliterated more often than not because there was no matchmaking. It was just, here's a game, have fun. Oh god, I died in 30 seconds. And it was horrific. So matchmaking now is come a long way. Still got a way to go, but yeah, it's definitely come a long way.
Which reminds me, Jamie, we should jump on Halo multiplayer. I'm yet to
We
do that.
should. We should.
I am
It's
not
hilarious.
going to last very long, and I'm going to
Nah.
swear it.
No, you're going to be cussing because you'll spawn dead.
Dead.
All right, well,
But
we
we'll
should-
set up some
great.
private matches. We'll have fun.
Yeah.
I was going to say we should probably wrap up now anyway, so we can facilitate a swift Halo for you two if you wish. Jump in and do some of that. Cool. So good chat about online multiplayer gaming. I think it's something we enjoy a great deal, and it certainly improves my my enjoyment of gaming in general. Having a good core group of people that we can just razz off of and have a great time. So I think that's the best if you have a group of close friends that you can continue to build that rapport with as you're gaming. That's going to be better than any sort of random hookup that you're likely to have. But that being said, it's always good to be able to make new friends too. So
Yeah.
Not everyone has us.
yeah. Nice. All right. Well, send us through your thoughts on tonight's topic by contacting us at email mail@partyloaded.com. You can also give us some feedback via Facebook. We're facebook.com/partyloaded. We're on Twitter at Partyloaded Show. And you can also check out all of the latest updates with new episodes and everything else at our main show blog at partyloaded.com. So I've actually been thinking off the back of tonight's discussion, one of the things we should possibly do is actually set up a show Steam community. What do you think of that? And we can actually invite people to hop on and maybe join us for some games and build like a cool group of people that are interested in being filthy casuals together.
Realize we're no good.
I'll set something up later.
And then
tonight.
they're going to see our game ADHD firsthand.
Yes, absolutely. It's
Sounds good.
quite harrowing to observe. That's good. All right, well, let's jump off and do just that and wrap it there. Until next time, bye.
dear.
Okay. Happy Australia Day, everyone.
Happy Australia
We're
Day.
still drunk. Yeah.
Bye-bye.
Go home, you're drunk.
The Party Loaded podcast is a Channel Endgame production. For this and more great gaming content, bookmark channelendgame.com.